We have been looking at this entire chase completely backward. For weeks, we assumed Britt was the ultimate prize, the grand target of this relentless manhunt, while Rocco was merely collateral damage, a kid caught in the crossfire of a much larger, much more dangerous game. But what if I told you that Britt was never the main course? What if she was just the bait, a carefully placed pawn in a deeply personal, meticulously crafted game of vengeance? We have been so focused on the survival aspect of their journey that we completely ignored the psychological warfare brewing just beneath the surface. To understand the sheer gravity of what just went down, we have to strip away the noise of the ongoing manhunt and look at the raw, brutal reality of their current situation. Britt and Rocco have been ghosts, surviving on pure adrenaline, intense paranoia, and the desperate hope that they could stay one step ahead of the danger hunting them. They finally found a sanctuary, a temporary breath of air in an otherwise suffocating chase. But the illusion of safety is the most dangerous trap of all. Ross did not just stumble upon their hideout by accident. He orchestrated a masterclass in psychological manipulation, proving that patience is indeed the deadliest weapon a predator can wield. This is where it gets interesting, guys. Ross is not just a hired gun executing a cold contract. This is not business. This is blood. We have to rewind our minds to that fateful moment in the past when Rocco, pushed to the absolute brink of his sanity and survival, pulled the trigger and left Ross bleeding, broken, and fighting for his life. You do not just walk away from a gunshot wound with a simple physical scar. You walk away with a bruised ego, a shattered sense of invincibility, and a burning, unquenchable thirst for retribution. Ross has been carrying the ghost of that bullet in his psyche every single day since it happened. He did not just want to capture Rocco. He wanted to dismantle him, to strip away every single layer of his security before delivering the final crushing blow. Think about the execution of this trap. Ross tracks down the heavily guarded, secret hideout. He waits in the shadows until the perfect moment when Britt is vulnerable, perhaps letting her guard down for just a fraction of a second to rest her exhausted mind. He strikes, but he does not deliver a lethal blow. He incapacitates her. He knocks her completely unconscious. Why? If Ross wanted to eliminate all obstacles and secure his target with zero resistance, he could have easily ended Britt right then and there. But leaving her alive, leaving her unconscious on the cold floor, is a deliberate, calculated move. It is a message. Britt is the anchor, the fierce protector. By taking her off the board without killing her, Ross is setting the stage for the ultimate psychological torture for both of them. Now, put yourselves in Rocco's shoes for a minute. Imagine the sheer weight of the atmosphere. He walks back into what is supposed to be their ultimate safe haven, perhaps returning from a desperate scavenging run for supplies. The silence is the very first thing that hits him. Not the peaceful, comforting silence of safety, but the heavy, suffocating, terrifying silence of a crime scene. His eyes adjust to the dim light, and he sees Britt lying motionless on the ground. The sheer terror that must have coursed through his veins in that split second is unimaginable. This is the woman who has been his shield, his partner in survival, his only tether to sanity. Seeing her broken and unresponsive shatters the fragile reality he had painstakingly built. He knows instantly, in his gut, that the perimeter has been breached. The ghost has been caught. Rocco does not freeze, though. The survival instincts kick in immediately. He rushes to her side, desperate to wake her, desperate to pull her back from the darkness so they can run again. He knows the predator is close. Every single second he spends shaking her, whispering her name, pleading for her to open her eyes, is a second ticking off a bomb. The air in that room must have been thick with absolute panic. He is a young man carrying the weight of the world, realizing that his violent past actions have finally caught up to him in the worst possible way. He is frantically trying to piece together an escape plan while staring at the unconscious face of his only ally, completely unaware that he is playing right into the hands of the enemy. And then the trap snaps entirely shut. Ross does not just kick the door down with guns blazing. He emerges from the shadows, stepping into the dim light like a nightmare made flesh. The timing is immaculate and deeply cruel. Ross wanted Rocco to experience that exact moment of absolute despair, to feel the crushing weight of failure and helplessness before making his move. When Ross finally reveals himself, it is not just an ambush, it is a dark coronation of his revenge. He looks down at the boy who nearly ended his life, the boy who is now kneeling helplessly beside his fallen protector. The power dynamic in the room has completely and irreversibly shifted. Imagine the unspoken dialogue in that room, guys. The history crackling in the air between them like electricity. Ross, bearing the physical and emotional scars of Rocco's bullet, finally standing over his ultimate prey. Rocco, realizing that his desperate, frantic attempt to save Britt has left him completely exposed and vulnerable. Ross does not waste time gloating, but his mere presence is a suffocating victory. He overpowers Rocco, who is already emotionally shattered, physically exhausted, and paralyzed by the sudden realization of his doom. The boy who once held a gun and made a life-altering choice is now reduced to a captive, dragged away into the unforgiving unknown. The decision to take Rocco alive and move him to an undisclosed, deeply hidden location speaks volumes about Ross's endgame. He does not want a quick revenge. A quick death would be far too merciful for the man who shot him. Ross wants to savor this victory. He wants to break Rocco down piece by piece, to make him deeply regret the day he ever picked up that weapon. By dragging him into the abyss, Ross is ensuring that nobody, not the police, not his powerful family, and certainly not Britt, can easily intervene. He is creating a private, secluded theater for his vengeance, a place where he holds absolute, terrifying control over life and death. But let me play devil's advocate for a second, because we always have to look at the bigger picture when dealing with Port Charles. Is it entirely possible that Ross is acting on someone else's orders? Could this entire revenge narrative be a convenient, personalized cover for a much larger, more sinister plot involving the broader criminal underworld? If you ask me, we have to consider that Ross might be using his personal vendetta as an excuse to secure a highly valuable hostage. Capturing a legacy kid like Rocco gives you immense leverage over some of the most powerful and dangerous families in town. Maybe Ross is killing two birds with one stone, satisfying his deep-seated bloodlust while positioning himself as a major player on the board by handing Rocco over to a higher bidder. Yet, despite that intriguing possibility, the sheer intimacy of this attack pulls me right back to the personal angle. A syndicate operation would be clean, efficient, and devoid of theatricality. They would have swept the room, secured the package, and eliminated any loose ends, meaning Britt would absolutely not be breathing right now. The fact that Ross deliberately left her alive is the ultimate proof that this is personal. He wanted her to suffer. He wanted her to wake up, feel the agonizing bump on her head, and realize she was outsmarted. He wanted to leave a living, breathing witness to his ultimate triumph. That is the calling card of a man driven entirely by ego, not a man driven by a corporate syndicate's paycheck. And that brings us to the most agonizing, heart-wrenching part of this entire sequence. Britt waking up. Imagine the physical pain of the severe blow to her head, slowly giving way to the sharp, stabbing, horrifying realization of her surroundings. The room is completely empty. The silence, which was once a comforting sign of safety, is now a screaming testament to her absolute failure. She pushes herself off the cold floor, her vision swimming, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. She frantically looks for the one person she swore to protect, the boy she risked everything for, and he is gone. There is no sign of a struggle, no clues left behind, just the terrifying, hollow absence of Rocco. The guilt that Britt must be feeling in that exact moment is enough to crush a person's spirit into dust. She was supposed to be the seasoned survivor, the one who anticipated the threats, the one who saw the traps before they were sprung. But she was outplayed. She was used as literal bait. The realization that Ross used her unconscious body to trap Rocco will be a toxic poison in her veins. But if we know absolutely anything about Britt, it is that guilt does not paralyze her. It weaponizes her. The fear, the despair, and the crushing weight of failure will quickly burn away, leaving only a cold, hardened, terrifying resolve. The dynamic of the entire storyline has just flipped violently on its head. For weeks, they were the prey, constantly looking over their shoulders, reacting to the movements of their enemies, hiding in the shadows. Now, Britt has to become the predator, She has to step into the darkness and hunt down a man who has already proven he can outsmart her and infiltrate her defenses. She is entering this new phase of the game with a severe disadvantage. She does not know where Ross took Rocco. She is physically compromised from the brutal attack, and the clock is ticking relentlessly. Time is the ultimate unforgiving enemy here. Ross is not going to keep Rocco alive indefinitely. Once his twisted thirst for psychological torture is quenched, once he feels he has extracted enough suffering to balance the scales for the gunshot wound, he will move to the final, lethal stage of his revenge. Britt knows this in her bones. Every single minute she spends trying to gather her bearings, trying to track a ghost through the criminal underworld, is a minute Rocco spends locked in a room with a madman harboring a massive grudge. The stakes have never been higher. It is no longer about staying hidden. It is about tearing the entire city apart until she finds him. This impending collision course between Britt and Ross is going to be nothing short of spectacular. Ross thinks he has won the war. He thinks he has neutralized the biggest threat and secured his ultimate prize. He is severely underestimating the absolute fury of a woman who has nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. Britt is not going to play by the rules of survival anymore. The instinct to hide has evolved into a lethal, offensive strategy. She will use every connection, every dark corner of her past, and every ounce of her cunning to track that man down and make him pay. We are standing on the precipice of a massive explosion in this storyline. The board is set, the pieces have made their devastating moves, and the fragile illusion of the manhunt has been shattered into a million pieces. Ross has his vengeance firmly within his grasp. Rocco is staring directly into the eyes of his own past violent mistakes, and Britt is about to unleash hell on earth to fix her failure. But as she steps out of that compromised hideout and into the unforgiving night, we have to wonder, even if she manages to find them in time, will there be anything left of the boy she is trying to save? Or has the trauma already done Ross's dark work for him?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.